Punch Boxing Hour, brought to you by George Rogie Insurance. www.bolopunchboxinghour.com, streaming live to you on Ustream.tv. That was a pretty cool interview with Emmanuel Augustus. I mean, I first met him, well, I've never met him, but I was first introduced to his fighting when he was Emmanuel Burton. And he changed his name several years ago. Now he's Emmanuel Augustus. One of his managers' names, Mac Roberts. That's who I've been talking with over the last couple weeks. Very understanding guy. I mean, we had the tragedy with little Brycey passing away and whatnot. Timmy talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we put this interview off a couple weeks.
Yeah. We were going to talk to Emmanuel a couple of weeks ago. Like he said plenty of times, he's in Vegas. He's training with Roger Mayweather, the best trainer he's ever been with. He's training right alongside Paulie Malignaggi, who's training for Ricky Hatton. So he's around greatness. So
and he's looking for fights. So I mean, if you know a promoter, I'm sure we're going to bring it up to the promoters that we know that he's looking for a fight and someone willing to pay him a little bit of money. I mean, I'd love to have him in the Chicago area. He was born in Chicago.
Yes. That was one thing we did not get a chance to talk to him about. Us being Chicagoland guys, he's from Chicago. He puts butts in seats, and that's your basic line for him. He's so exciting. He does so many. I mean, I'm not about to try and pull an Augustus on you right now, but I mean, just constantly. And the line that he used about him, he played a lot of Tekken growing up,
yeah,
and that's where that came from. He's our age. He's 33 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would have played the same video games we played. That's crazy that he took that from Tekken. That's interesting. I like.
And he started his professional career. I mean, about 1 year after he graduated high school, because he started in '94.
Yeah, that's right when you graduated high school. So yeah, that's
I
crazy.
turn 33 next week. So.
Oh jeez. And a little bit later on, we're going to be talking to DeAndre Lattimore, who just had an awesome knockout victory over Saku Powell. He refers to it as just another day in the office, but the rest of the world was referring to it as a major upset. So we'll be talking to DeAndre Lattimore in a little bit. But right now, let's get to some fights that have already happened, and we've got to talk about it. We've got to take these apart because these were some awesome fights. This was a great week to be a boxing fan.
Yeah.
First and foremost,
this was almost an upset because Gamboa got caught.
It almost switched to being another flip side to an actual upset. Saturday night in Temecula, California, featherweight action. Yuriorkis Gamboa knockout in the second round over Marcos Ramirez.
I didn't know my
You're gonna take the cap off that thing? You're gonna rip your lip off. Gamboa is still undefeated, 12-0 with 10 knockouts. Ramirez moving on down to 25-1 with 16 knockouts. Now this was the battle of the undefeateds. Ramirez did not come in as highly touted, obviously, as Gamboa. Gamboa is that Olympic medalist from 2004.
But he had much more experience than what Gamboa did coming into this.
Yes, he did have more experience, but he did not fight the level of competition that Gamboa had fought. And
you can't discount all the amateur fights that Gamboa had. I mean, he's had over 250 amateur fights.
That's insane.
Cuba, so, I mean, you see that out of a lot of the Cuban fighters before
Yeah.
they come over here and become pro. Bottom line is Gamboa got caught a little bit early. It wasn't really a punch. It was an elbow that caught him.
It was definitely not a punch. He missed the punch completely. It didn't even brush.
When you watched it live, it definitely looked like a punch.
It looked like a punch. I was like, whoa. You have to watch it slow. And they did slow it down. And sure as shit, it was an elbow. A killer right elbow.
And this was telecast on HBO. And actually, Lennox Lewis did a very good job on this telecast. It was about the best job I've ever seen him do.
He really focused. He didn't get puffy. He didn't do a couple of things that I don't really like with his commentating. But there are other things that I think he does better than most commentators.
Well, he brought up a couple things. The main thing he brought up in this fight was about that punch. He was talking about how fighters used to train to throw those punches.
To purposely miss that punch so the elbow follows through. Yeah.
Yeah, Frazier was one of the guys that was most famous for that. Everybody said that he trained. He says he didn't. He said that's how he just turns the punch over and catches him with the elbow.
Well, yeah.
But I would say the same thing if I kept hitting with...
You don't want to admit that you knock dudes out right and left with elbows.
Unless
you're
Casamaior, then you don't care. You just say, it's a fight, man. I gotta do what I gotta do to win. But Gamboa, after that knockdown, he hops up and showcases his talents a little bit.
He sure did, man. Oh, man. You gotta love Yuriorkis Gamboa. He's got so much power. His shoulders are so broad and thick with muscle. but his defense is not as narrow as I'd like it just yet.
Yeah, they say he fights kind of a cross between Prince Ahmed and Floyd Mayweather. They said they think his chin's a little bit more like Ahmed's though, not Mayweather.
So we're combining Nassim and Hamed into Named. No problem. No, that's cool.
I don't know who that damn guy's.
No, it's not.
But they were saying that his chin is kind of suspect.
Yes.
And I don't know. I mean,
it took an elbow to drop him here.
Most guys that catch an elbow, there's a good chance they're going to go down, especially if it's very clean.
It was
like
exceptionally clean. It was right down the pipe. If the punch had landed, he might have been knocked down. It was so hard and clean.
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried about that.
I would like it if he brought his hands up a little bit. I mean, that does work for quick fighters though, where they were also comparing him to Roy Jones a little bit.
Yeah, you're not going to compare it. You're not going to confuse him with Floyd, but you could confuse him with a touch of a young Roy. The way that he stood, his stature, the way he dropped his punches. You know.
Yeah, he kept his hands down and threw mainly all power punches.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he's his own little style. He's a little bit mix of both. I think his chin's a little bit better than what we're giving him credit for. I mean, he's been knocked down in the last couple.
Better than any of ours.
He's been knocked down in the last couple of fights, but never truly really hurt.
True.
And he still has those flashes of brilliance. I think he still's got a long way to the top. I mean, he's still got to go through some bigger names than what he has before he gets to the elite fighters.
I am worried, however, and what did I get from all of this? It had nothing to do with the chin of Gamboa, not about Ramirez and the things that happened that worked for him that didn't work for him. I'm worried about ever seeing Jerry Cantu, the referee, ever referee again, because that count was so ridiculous that he gave Ramirez.
Yeah, well, Ramirez, when he went down, he was getting caught with a number of blows. He went down, and he went down hard. I thought the ref was going to wave it off as soon as he went down. But when he does pick up the count like that, and Ramirez seemed to kind of get his wits about him, and then
he was on one knee. He was ready to pop up,
and he was waiting. Yeah, he was
waiting for 9.
He waited. He should wait for 8, not for 9.
That's what they were saying. Max Kellerman said, "Yeah, I'd rather see him, jump up at 7 or 8 instead of 9 because you had nothing to lean on."
Yeah, and the ref probably assumed he's just staying down. He's counting him out, and the guy's not showing any signs that he's going to stand up. He must have the ref probably thought that he was just going to stay down.
So if he thought he was going to stay down, he could have given him 1 second.
Yeah.
Because he went sort of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, done.
Yeah, 9, 10 was kind of one count.
Yeah, it was weird. Everyone was talking about it. I don't believe he counted like that. It was a quick count, but quality win for Gamboa, and nothing to be taken away from him. He came back from a devastating knockdown.
Bottom line, if it wasn't ended there, it would have been.
It was gonna get stopped anyway.
Probably in that round, if not the next round.
Gamboa was really turning the tide. So you're right about that. We shouldn't make too much big deal out of what the ref did, but that's the one thing I took from that fight. I'm scared of that ref now because he's gonna do that to someone that really deserved a fight.
We'll talk about the refs. This
one, yeah, this was no better. This was much worse. Junior middleweight action: Alfredo Angulo TKO victory in the 10th round over Andre Serkan. Angulo 14-0, still undefeated with 11 knockouts. Serkan moving on down to 26-4 with 17 knockouts.
Yeah, and it took probably I think it was like 45 seconds left in this fight before the corner got up and started waving the flag or the towel.
Yeah. Let's start at the beginning because from the beginning, there's not much to say. From beginning to end for every round.
It was non-stop action.
Angulo was winning every round though. Serkan was not doing much. After about the 3rd round, he was just getting.
He was throwing a lot of punches.
Yes,
though.
he was
staying busy throwing punches. I mean, neither one of these guys clinched. I think in the whole fight.
No, but I couldn't give Serkan any rounds.
I don't think anybody that was watching that fight was going to give him any rounds. And actually, the 9th round, most people would have probably scored it 10-8. Yeah. But at the beginning of the fight, Serkan was, he was throwing close to 100, they both threw in the first round. I think the total punches was like almost 250 punches in the first round.
That's insane.
And you're like, this is what I'm going to get to watch in this fight, huh?
Yeah.
And I knew coming into it, Zirkan, they had lost to a couple fights coming in, but I seen this and I knew it was going to be a good fight. Lennox Lewis pointed out something good about Angulo as well. His footwork. He says it's great how he switches from southpaw to conventional stance and all that, but he doesn't like how he steps back. When he works forward, he does fine. He leads with the right foot and his front foot. He'll push forward. But when he steps back with his front foot as well. And he's going to get caught with someone with a little bit quicker hands when his feet are together and get a flash knockdown.
Straight right hand is going to land.
Yeah.
It's made for someone that moves back on their left foot the way that...
Yeah, it's not necessarily just his left foot, though, because he switches from conventional to southpaw.
Well, left foot would go to the right hand is what I was saying.
Whatever the front foot is,
yes.
When he steps back, it's going to get caught with a straight punch.
Yes.
And it's going to drop him it doesn't even have to be a clean punch, it just has to be a solid punch that'll knock you off balance.
It doesn't even have to be that hard. You're going to be down. You're going to go down, and if your arms are in front of you, your head's going to snap off that mat.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous. It's not something I noticed as much, but then again, I'm not Lennox Lewis, and he really picked that apart. And I was looking at his upper body the whole time. I'm not a foot watcher. I'm generally not someone that says, oh, he's got really good footwork. Unless, of course, I'm watching someone like Orpheus Waite, who's got footwork that's so crazy, he'll be in a clinch and totally, he's gone all of a sudden because he sidestepped and now he's got awesome angles. He's got angles better than I'll even go so far as to say that Fernando Vargas had.
Yeah, Vargas and Diaz, I mean, those are two of the guys that you think of that use that angle attacks.
Very much so. They're not necessarily power punchers, but they're able to get those angles. And Gulo's got that capability. But he's got one flaw in that he does step backwards rather. And when you watch it after someone tells you that you're watching it, then you totally notice.
Yeah, and that's like you continue to look for it.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole fight. It helps you notice though how much he was switching from southpaw to conventional. He was doing it so fluently, no problem switching back and forth. And when he would turn conventional at the end of the round, man, he would just turn it on.
It's like that was his job, which it is.
Well, it seemed like he had a timer in his head. I don't know if he had a guy in his corner yelling.
Someone's probably telling him, but he knew right at 1 minute 0 seconds. He knew right when to go, and he did.
He goes, I got this much in my tank. I saved it up. I kept busy through the whole round. I'm turning it on now. Try to drop this guy in the last minute. If I don't, I get a little break.
We got to talk about how long this fight went because honestly, I saw no reason for it to go past 6 or 7.
Well, I thought past 6 or 7 was all right. I thought the 8th and 9th round, the 9th round definitely it should have probably been stopped. The 8th round was when it was starting to look like to me. I thought before that Zirkan was throwing enough punches to stay busy and possibly even pull out the fight if he landed a big punch. But I mean, we differ only by a couple rounds here, so it's not that big a deal. But I mean, what happened in the 8th and 9th round, the 10th round, the 9th round mainly
was just a whipping. There shouldn't have been a 9th because I don't believe there should have been an 8th. I could have seen the fight stopped after 7, like I said.
It definitely should not have made it past the 9th. The 9th round, the beginning of the 9th round was, after that it was over.
The doctor was looking to, but it was a TKO in the 10th. They obviously fought more, even
late in the 10th. I thought they were just going to let it, I didn't understand why they didn't just let it go 15, 20, or it was 45 seconds left, let's let them go for 45 more seconds and get beat on a little bit more.
So, we disagree on when it should have been stopped, but think about it. For me, that's 12 minutes of beating that he didn't need to take. If you go off of mine, that's 6 minutes at least of beating that he didn't need to take.
Well, I look at it, when you said in the 6th, I mean, he could have still caught the guy, knocked him down, and then maybe turned the fight around if he would have knocked him down, maybe won the rounds. Yeah. I would have probably at least waited to the 7th, maybe the 8th, because he was still staying busy.
Sure, I'll give you that. He was even busy in the 10th. He was still throwing shots here and there in the 10th. Problem was he was getting clocked with so much stuff.
Clean
yes.
punches.
So when you talk about the ref, I'm thinking, by the 10th round, I'm thinking, my God, I wish Angulo would just punch the ref. Just punch this guy. So, I mean, I have seen Larry Merchant Larry Merchant will actually say things like, and that referee needs to be pistol whipped for allowing that fight to continue. He has said it before, and for him to
actually get to see it.
Because while Serkan is getting just pummeled over against the ropes, I believe it was even in the corner, the referee jumped in, finally stopped it because he saw Serkan's corner.
Man.
They didn't throw the towel in.
Yeah,
they stood there and shook it around. I don't know if that.
Lennox Lewis brought that up. He's like, their corner, you don't just wave the towel, you throw it at the ref. He's watching the action. He's not watching the corner.
Yeah, I'm worried of a ref that is watching a little towel dance in the corner. Is it a rally monkey corner? I mean, a towel. I don't know what that was. I mean, we just watched the Chicago White Sox spinning towels a lot, and it didn't do them a damn bit of good. So it didn't do this guy any good. This trainer of Serkan. So, while it's being broken up, Angulo's still on autopilot. He's still throwing punches. He lands a right hook to the ref's face.
The ref must have been looking in the corner when he got caught.
So that's when he decides to look at the towel. The towel spinning. Because he stopped looking at the fighters for a split second, and Angulo landed a right hook that landed so clean on the mouth of the ref that I'm thinking, good!
Go down!
Stay down, dude. And
We're gonna count you out.
I thought, oh man, I always hate seeing referees get hit, but that one I didn't mind as much.
It's like teaching them a lesson. You remember this fight, won't you?
You'll remember. You'll remember it in the morning, that's for sure. Junior middleweight action, Sergio Martinez TKO victory in the 8th round over Alex Bunema. He wins a vacant interim junior middleweight championship of the world.
Bunema was
vacant interim. Well, gotta love that stuff.
Bunema was making a name for himself. I mean, he's won a couple fights here coming into this one, and building his record up, and gets in here with a guy that he thought he would have a chance against, and Martinez, who only had one loss on his record, and that one loss was against, I mean, the welterweight champion of the world, Antonio Margarito, who's considered now, you know, the top guy in that division since Floyd's retired.
Yes.
And he beat Cotto.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who he was. He already had a couple losses on his record when they fought. Martinez was building his record, and comes into this one. Nobody knew who he was in this one. I mean, 44 wins, and still no. I'm like, man, this guy has a good record for. He had to have fought somebody, you know, having 44 wins.
A lot of somebody's.
Yeah, and then you see his speed. You know, wow.
This dude can fight. Where have you been all my life?
They're comparing his speed to Pernell Whitaker.
On one fight.
And De La Hoya, they're like, I'm going, wow. I think he was quick.
Good. The dude's good, and he can punch with both hands. He is strong, this guy Martinez.
They're looking around the 154 weight class going, who's he going to fight? There's not very many guys there. It's probably going to end up being Vernon Forrest.
That's what Fight News was saying, that he's probably going to be made into the mandatory for him. But Dan Raphael on ESPN earlier today said, don't even bother worrying about that fight. He said something like, don't hold your breath, something along those lines. So
Vernon Forrest, this guy Martinez isn't well known enough to earn Vernon Forrest the money.
True, and besides that, I mean, I don't know for sure, but does Vernon Forrest even have a belt now?
Yeah, he won that. He lost his belt to Sergio Mora, and then he won it back from Sergio.
He won it back from him. So yeah. He just fought Sergio Mora. I forgot about that. So so he does have a belt. So if this makes him the mandatory, he's just so dangerous. This dude. I mean, so much stuff.
A lot of danger there with little payment.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? You gonna say you lost to a dude that no one knows who they are?
Yeah.
Well, he was good, man, because then you have to sell how good the guy was that just beat you.
Yeah.
Then you have to go around campaigning for him. No, you don't want to pull up with that garbage. Let's move on. Saturday night, San Juan, Puerto Rico, junior featherweight action. Juan Manuel Lopez knocks out in the very first round Cesar Figueroa. He retains his junior featherweight championship of the world. Lopez still undefeated, 23-0 with 21 knockouts. And Figueroa 30-7, 22 knockouts.
Lopez is a fast rising star. I mean, 23-0 with 21 knockouts. I mean, he has a great right hook. And, I mean, he proves it here, knocking out Figueroa.
I saw this on YouTube. I did not see it when it happened. I saw it probably 2-3 days ago. But it's reminiscent because the fights that I've been watching on YouTube lately are very quick fights. Because I just watched this guy. I cannot remember his name, but he just knocked out Kimbo Slice in about 20 seconds.
I do with the pink hair.
Yeah, Vinny Testaverde. No, I don't know the dude's name. He's not a football guy. But I don't remember the dude's name. Seth something or other. Seth, an Italian dude. But no, he knocked out
Kimbo
Slice very quickly, like 20-30 seconds.
Yeah.
And this fight is not much different. 47 seconds. He knocks out Cesar Figueroa.
Yeah, Lopez is kind of known for that upset win over Ponce de Leon. I mean, it was a slight upset. Ponce de Leon was coming in. Everybody knew how hard he punched.
Yeah.
And everybody quickly realized how hard Lopez punched.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's only going to turn on something strong. It's something big for him. He's going to be probably on the undercard of the Oscar De La Hoya Manny Pacquiao fight here coming up. And I mean, there's not much else I could say about this guy other than say let's watch him again, see him knock somebody out with that right hand.
I would say so. You know, I didn't even say anything about the fact that I was at the Manny Pacquiao Oscar De La Hoya press conference in Chicago. I got a second here. There's a lot of things I could say. First and foremost, Tom Schreiber, a good friend of Bolo Punch. We've known him for a number of years. He's from Whiting, Indiana. He's from right around here. And he was the one that was given the opportunity. He was called the night before, he told me, to please come down to the Sears Tower sky deck on the 100 and whatever floor and announce these two fighters. And he says, you want me to introduce Manny Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya? I am freaking there. And he got there and he ran that press conference. He did all the introductions. It was outstanding, and it was a hell of an opportunity for him. He said he was like a kid in a candy store. So
yeah, and you can see that it's on our YouTube site, and it's
do we have that on YouTube?
Yeah, it's already on
excellent.
YouTube. It's already got 3,000 hits and a bunch of comments on there talking about the fight. There's I believe at least 25 comments on there. People going back and forth. People make those comments and they come back to see what other people say about their comments too. So,
yeah.
I mean, you get to go back and forth with some other fight fans and talk about. I mean, probably going to be the fight of the year or the biggest event of the year. I don't know.
Well, if we get new listeners from that, then I'm glad that I went on out there.
Yeah, and if not, I'm glad we could share it with everybody.
Absolutely, and not to do a little commercial for myself, but I did a big old painting of both of them, and Pacquiao was kind enough to autograph it for me right across his chest. So.
Well, the one thing that you won't catch in that video is while you were sitting, I mean, basically with all the news staff there and. Behind you was David Diaz.
David Diaz.
And one guy got that announce other than Tom Schreiber because of as soon as Schreiber announced Manny Pacquiao.
That is something that I'm not even sure. Now you can hear the laughing. Yeah. You can hear the giggling. But what most people don't know is that as soon as Tom Schreiber announces Pacquiao and Pacquiao goes up and stands in front, if you watch the video you can see that Schreiber starts laughing before he introduces Oscar. And I've already panned the camera over to look for Oscar coming. The reason everyone's laughing is because Pacquiao's phone rang. And he's got one of those custom. He made his own ringtone, and it's of the ring announcer announcing David Diaz.
Yeah, Michael Buffer.
Michael Buffer announcing David Diaz in the Diaz Manny Pacquiao fight. Because David Diaz was in the second row calling Manny Pacquiao, who was up at the front of the room.
As soon as he got up on
stage. He got up there, and all of a sudden his phone goes up. The heart of a lion from Chicago, Illinois, David Diaz. And Diaz is laughing his ass off right behind me. That is a story I will take to the grave. That was hilarious. And Pacquiao just reaches into his little sport coat, sees who it is, and turns it off, puts it right back in his pocket. And I sort of got it, but sort of didn't. So if you're wondering why people are laughing at the beginning, that's why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's cool that I was able to score that. And thank you to Bernie Barmazal, actually, for giving me the credentials to actually get in there. Got a cool hat, got a cool t-shirt. I mean, an awesome opportunity to talk with these friends.
The actual press conference up there. I'm gonna shortly get the one-on-one interviews that you guys had up there as well. I haven't got that up there, but it'll be up there shortly. And I mean, those questions are from the guys that we sit with ringside, a lot of those guys were in there interviewing or asking questions of these guys.
And those are the other websites that are competitors with us, but we're all friends.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there with Cyber Boxing Zone. We're sitting there with Doghouse Boxing, FightNews.com, Buzz News. I'm sitting there with the WRCX. I'm sitting there with Fox, and ESPN is sitting there. I mean, we've got huge entities, and of course Bolo Punch Boxing are over there. You know who I never see is those Boxing for Real dudes.
No.
Because they're for real.
They are also not out of Chicago. They're not going to see us in Vegas either. I mean, we're small budget just like that.
I know, but I've never seen those dudes. Never.
I've actually seen that they started covering a couple fights live.
What an idea. What a good idea. Anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about those guys. They're good guys.
You like to rag on them a little bit.
Well, it started out not being provoked, but they're an interesting bunch. And let's move on. Saturday night, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Junior middleweight action. Kasim the Dream Umar. TKO victory in the 6th round over Martinez Clay. Umar 26-5-1 with 16 knockouts. Clay moving on down to 13-19 with 5 knockouts.
Kasim Umar needed this win.
He could finally just exhale. The dude had, how many losses in a row? 4 in a row.
He was fighting guys that he probably shouldn't have been fighting a lot of these times. Guys that were bigger than him, and Jermaine Taylor, K9. They're much bigger guys that he was fighting.
K9 Bundridge. Yeah,
Jermaine Taylor was basically fighting, a guy that was much smaller than him. Shortly after that fight, he moves up to the super middle, and Kasim Umar had moved up in weight just to fight him. I believe he might have even moved up 2 weight classes to fight in that fight. But
yeah, we want to see this type of thing a few more times before we see him go back in with another Jermaine Taylor, a fight that he never should have took.
Yeah, I'm looking for him more to move down in weight class and use that volume of punches that he's always
volume and speed. He's not going to be knocking out too many dudes unless he goes down in weight. He needs to go down with guys his size. That's the bottom line with Kasim Umar. And I'm glad he's back on the winning track, because he's a hell of a guy and a hell of a fighter. Friday night, Denver, Colorado, junior welterweight action. Mike Alvarado scores a TKO victory in the 4th round over Manuel Garnica. Alvarado 23-0, still undefeated with 16 knockouts. Garnica moving on down to 24-10 with 12 knockouts.
I'm very impressed with Alvarado. Every time I've seen him in Cicero, not much that I can say about him. I'm waiting for him to get a top level fight. He's rated in the top 10. I believe he's rated in the top 5 now. It'll only be a matter of time. It can't be far away, and you'll see his skills other than just on Telefutura.
Yes, and I wonder if we'll still see Telefutura fights in Cicero.
Yeah, I heard different stories, but I've actually heard from the promoter himself that he said that there's no problem with him in Telefutura, so I would expect him to come back.
Well, then officially, as far as an official word goes, Telefutura will still be in Cicero. Good. Friday night, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, heavyweight action. Eddie Chambers back on the winning streak. We're starting a winning streak at 1 right now, because he did lose to Alexander Povetkin back in the early part of this year, January or February, whenever that was. Chambers moving on up to 32-1 with 18 knockouts. Castillo moving on down to 14-6 with 9 knockouts.
Yeah, he gets back on the winning horse. He fought Povetkin, who was winning that fight pretty clearly, and he got that disqualification because his corner put the stool in.
Yeah.
Went a little bit too early, and they stopped the fight, and then we seen it shortly after again on another fight, and they didn't disqualify the fighter, but it all depends on what the ref catches and what he doesn't. Just like we seen an elbow this weekend, and they counted him as a knockdown. It should have been counted as an elbow, not a knockdown. Not a clean punch. But
that was Chaz Witherspoon. That wasn't Eddie Chambers.
I thought Eddie Chambers. Oh no, Eddie Chambers fought the fight.
Eddie Chambers got stopped by Povetkin
as well, but it was the fight before that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you let me do that whole story.
No, I was trying. I couldn't think of the name Chaz Witherspoon. No, it was Chaz Witherspoon that had his guys jump in the ring too early.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And Eddie Chambers was the fight before that, and that little mini tournament that they had.
Absolutely right. So it's not like you were a mile off, right?
Yeah.
easy to confuse too. Easy to
Yeah,
confuse.
both tall, lanky guys work behind the jab.
Both came from pretty much obscurity to limelight right away because, I mean, 2 years ago we were scared to death that we weren't going to have any American heavyweights. So we threw guys in that maybe a little earlier than they needed to be, and both of them ended up getting losses. So so now we're on the comeback.
It's the same guy though. I mean,
yes, it's Povetkin both times. So
yeah, they're hoping Povetkin's going to be the one that's the star in this division.
Well, they are because they lost to him. They most definitely are. And with that will get us through.
All the fights from last week.
All the fights from last week, and this will get posted up on YouTube later on tonight. And you can get in touch with us anytime you want to, right here on www.bolopunchboxinghour.com. And we're streaming live, as always, on Ustream.tv. I want to take this opportunity to thank George Rogie of Rogie Insurance for always believing in us, for always backing us.
The one fights we didn't talk about were the the
Radisson fights we didn't really get to, but the only one that matters huge, since we did talk about Michael Walker fighting Antoine Eccles,
who pulled that fight that went off.
Yes,
very close fight.
The fight that we didn't get the chance to talk about is Derek Finley. And if we were to talk about it, I guarantee, in fact, even about now, we've even talked more
than what the length of the fight was.
That fight was about a 20-second disaster for his opponent.
Yeah, it was very hard for me to even get photos of the fight because I basically just put photos up of him before the fight and after the fight because they were at such a bad angle from where I was sitting. All my camera would only focus on the ropes.
Well, the hard part for that was because it was in the corner closest to you, which will get those ropes in your way.
Yeah.
Because you can't really climb in because there's a table that you're sort of leaning over.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly ideal for photographers.
No.
It was ideal for one photographer who
Yeah.
had some space there. Luckily for him, there wasn't a judge in that spot.
Yeah, well, it was set up for him not to have a judge there. Actually, he moved that table apart too, so he could get up there. It just there was only enough room to move the table apart for one spot, and it's gonna be there for photographer for.
Sure. I'm not
complaining. Get that spot.
I'm not complaining. I just.
But nonetheless, Derek Finley made quick work of him, and you came up to him and said you couldn't give that guy at least 30 seconds, and he said, "Man, the guy shouldn't have been in the ring with me. He was a fill-in, and
if he doesn't belong, then my job as the fighter is to get him out of there," he said. And he gave me a big old hug, and he just kept on moving. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to fault the guy for taking the dude out in 20 seconds when
that's
he didn't
exactly
belong?
like he said. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. If he doesn't belong in the ring, you take him out of it.
You make sure that matchmaker doesn't make that mistake a second time. And I don't know if that's necessarily even the matchmaker's mistake.
It wasn't necessarily. It was a fill-in guy. That wasn't the guy that he was supposed to be fighting.
True.
They got another guy. I mean, basically on like 2 nights' notice or something like that. They came in, and when you're doing that, you can't always get the guy that you want. I mean, not everybody's Emmanuel Augustus coming in filling
True. Finley came in. I mean, I wrote it real cleverly on the write-up. So I mean, my talking isn't going to be as good. But essentially, he did not box the guy. He didn't, engage with him. He didn't trade with him.
He just overwhelmed him.
He manhandled him. He shoved him into the corner, landed about 15 to 20 unanswered shots, and the dude slumped like a slinky down a step into the corner. And don't try to take my phrase "slinky down a step" because that's now copyrighted as of right now. So all I know is he's absolutely right. He didn't belong in the ring with him. So.
And the next 1 in a million fight's gonna have another Rogie fighter in there, and Mary McGee. She's gonna be the headline, and they're hoping to get Jimmy Holmes back in there.
Jimmy Holmes, he's an alright fighter. He's nothing special.
He's the one that they're trying to get him in. He's had some problems, injury problems.
He had a bone spur in his right heel that he had to get some. He has to get some surgery on. So. Maybe we shouldn't be saying that out loud.
Well, that's what they're trying to get cleaned up, and Jimmy's not going to get in there until that's all taken care of anyway, so I don't think there's a problem with us saying that.
Well, one way or another, putting his picture in a program saying he's fighting that night, 4 months in advance, I mean, you don't know how the surgery's going to go. I mean, we just talked...
They're hoping. They put him on there hoping he's going to get in there.
Well, Emmanuel Augustus, we just announced to him a date that BoxRec has. And he goes, I don't know anything about that date. I don't know who I'm going to be fighting. It's not that I don't have an opponent. I don't even know that I have a date. So, I mean, the interview, the Emmanuel Augustus interview that we just did about half an hour ago, is not attached to this particular YouTube.
Video, yeah.
This actual piece. So you're gonna have to find it, but it'll be very easy to find. It'll be all linked together with all this stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and take another break. Timmy, you can take us on out of here, and we'll be right back at you with all the fights that are coming up, including Vitaly Klitschko against the big African gentleman known as the Nightmare, and he stole the man's glove from him at the press conference. We'll be right back at you. This is your Bolo Punchboxing Hour, brought to you by Georgia Rookie Insurance. www.bolopunchboxinghour.com, streaming to you live, newsstream.tv.
Yeah, this is a story of famous dog. But the dog that chases its tail will be busy.